Hi everyone, I'm Lucy White, a senior employment and data protection solicitor here at Clark's Legal. And today I'm joined by my colleague Monica, a trainee within the employment department, to discuss the use of WhatsApp in the workplace.
Hi, Lucy. Thanks, and hello to all our listeners. Today, we're tackling a topic that comes up time and time again with clients: the use of WhatsApp in the workplace. WhatsApp is a convenient and quick way to communicate with both colleagues and clients. But the question is it legally safe?
That's right, Monica. With nearly 40 million users in the UK alone, WhatsApp has become a go-to tool, not just for chatting with friends and family, but also for planning team meetings, sharing files, and even handling sensitive work conversations. But while it's incredibly user-friendly, its usage raises unforeseen risks under UK GDPR and broader employment law issues.
Yes, in fact, one of the biggest issues we see is the blurring of personal and professional boundaries. WhatsApp was never really designed for workplace communication, and it tends to encourage more informal conversation that would be used in emails. This informality can be great for building rapport in teams, but it also creates risks, especially when what starts as a casual conversation crosses a line. Under the Equality Act, if a discriminatory or offensive comment is made in what's seen as the course of employment, the employer and the employee can be liable. If the chat is predominantly used for work related communication, there is a real risk of those informal chats becoming formal evidence, let's say in an employment tribunal.
That's right. And another problem is oversight. Unlike emails or company improved platforms, WhatsApp isn't stored on company servers. Employers can't easily monitor or retrieve messages or prevent unauthorized sharing of sensitive data. That came into sharp focus with the NHS Lanarkshire hospital case in 2023, where the hospital was reprimanded by the ICO after patient data, including sensitive medical information, was shared via WhatsApp. That's a major breach of data protection obligations. And then there's the practical reality. Most people use WhatsApp on their personal devices. If a phone is lost, stolen, or hacked, any sensitive company data that's on that phone is at risk. And unlike company owned laptops or devices, employers don't usually have mobile device management software in place for personal phones. That creates a massive blind spot from a GDPR perspective.
Yes, Lucy. In fact, data retention and GDPR compliance are often overlooked. GDPR requires clear policies on how and when personal data is deleted. WhatsApp architecture makes that very hard to control because messages can be edited, deleted, or sent privately with no reliable audit trail. For companies trying to show compliance, that's a nightmare, especially if the data sits in a gray zone between personal and professional use, so the employer cannot reasonably demand records of all data.
So, what can employers do? There are some practical steps that employers can take without banning WhatsApp outright, which, let's face it, is nearly impossible to enforce. First, we recommend considering using a dedicated business grade platform. Tools such as Microsoft Teams or Slack offer far better control, logging, and admin features, all while encouraging a collaborative culture. The second is don't ignore the issue. If you know WhatsApp is being used, address it in your policies. Lay out clear guidelines for appropriate use, what is and isn't acceptable, and how personal devices should be handled. A third thing is to provide training on this. Employees often don't realize the legal implications of their messages, especially when they're on personal devices, and especially when it comes to data protection and discrimination laws. Also, think about technical solutions like requiring encryption on devices, restricting work communications to company phones, or at the very least, securing explicit employee consent for using personal devices for work purposes. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, document that consent. Keep a record of it. If you're ever questioned about your GDPR compliance, that paper trail could be your saving grace.
Thanks, Lucy. I think those are really useful tips. Let's walk through a few examples. First up, an employee, let's call him Ben, sends a photo of a whiteboard from a team meeting to a WhatsApp chat for his team. The team includes his current team, but also some former staff.
Okay, so it's very likely that Ben has made a big mistake there. That whiteboard could easily contain other people's personal data and probably confidential company information or trade secrets. Not only is there a risk of that information being further shared if any of the group's phones are lost or stolen, there's an immediate risk of the ex-employee. Unlike with company systems, where ex-employees will be removed by the company, on personal WhatsApp groups, it's up to the ex-employee to leave, or for the admin to remove them.
That's right, Lucy. We would recommend that if you're using WhatsApp groups for your work teams, you ensure that whoever is the manager of that team is also the admin of the group, and then it is their responsibility to ensure that ex-employees are removed.
Thanks, Monica. So let's have a think about another example. Let's say Ben again is messaging his colleague Sarah. They usually only message about work matters on WhatsApp. One day, Ben sends Sarah a message making a joke about another colleague. Sarah doesn't find it funny and thinks it's discriminatory and makes a complaint.
Yes, so this is a great example of where the informality of WhatsApp can blur lines. Ben likely would never have sent that message via email. The first question an employer should ask is, was it in the course of employment? Ben might say that it was a message sent on his personal phone to a friend, not related to work. However, as Ben uses his phone for work purposes and messages Sarah only for work purposes, it is likely that this would be considered in the course of employment.
That's right, Monica. It's always best to err on the side of caution in these areas, particularly where a complaint is raised because of the behaviour.
Yes, Lucy. And finally, the last example, an employee deletes a message thread after a dispute, thinking it's gone for good.
So that's a nightmare for data retention and for legal discovery. If there's a subject access request or an employment tribunal, those messages might be needed as evidence. But if they're deleted, edited, or shared privately, it's almost impossible to track these. It's also very difficult generally for employers to search out this evidence without the employee's assistance and consent.
It's clear that while WhatsApp can be a helpful communication tool, it needs to be used carefully in a workplace settings. Employers have to be proactive in balancing convenience with compliance.
Absolutely. So whether you're HR, in-house legal, a business owner, now's the time to review your policies, check your practices, and seek legal advice if needed. As always, if you're unsure, we're here to help.
Thanks everyone for listening to our podcast, and if you have any legal question, get in touch. And until next time, take care and stay compliant.